download this practice package, and this you will need this one after our lecture, right? And I think before our SGD really starts, I would like to ask some of you, what is a good slide? You can use some additives, for example. Maybe a good slide may only contain 1 or 2 colors. Or a good slide may be simple. That is the word that is really widely used by those slide experts. Or a slide may be meaningful, or less words but more pictures. There are so many tips that tells you how to make a good slide. But these tips are all like this one. You get several tips, but we have to find the reason, the connection between all these tips. So you can just follow this principle to create more tips that belong to yourself. So what is this core value to all these tips? For me, I would think this one in the middle is the effective visualization. Those two are the key words. First, I would like to talk about effective. What's an effective slide? What's an effective slide? I think there's 3 things that you should take note of. One is a good slide must be informative. That means this design contains a kind of message. For example, this one, I want you to know what is informative, so I put these words on the slide. That is an example. And the next one is, I think a good slide must be eye-directive. You should talk to you should tell your audience where you should look at. Do you want them to look at you, or do you want them to look at your slide? And where of your slides? That's the thing you want to care about. And the last point is, I think a good slide must be eye-focusing. That means you're not only going to tell them where you should look at, but also look at one point instead of look at here and look at there at the same time. So I think these 3 things are really important in our slide design, and these 3 principles I would like to call it 3 I principles. I. These 3 principles can lead to all these tips we're gonna talk about. So if there is an effective slide, there must be some distractive slide in contrast. So we're gonna talk about 3 things to prevent you from making this kind of slides. One is we're going to talk about some basic skills that you will need when you are making the slides. And then we'll undergo a session called practical design. That means when you are going to make a slide, you must start from writing your script. Then follow your script. Then start from your script to develop what your slide look like. And the last thing is, I'm going to tell you something about presenting skills. That means these 2 are those work you have to do before your speech. But this one is those skills you need when you are on the stage. And first we start from basic skills. We're going to talk about 4 things. We start from the first one. This is color. Our slide must not only contain black or white, right? So most of the time you will encounter some kind of problem related to color. This one is quite clear because our projector is quite oval. But if you use a very good projector like my computer, you can see these words. exactly this word is distractive. Why this slide is distractive? Because the color it used was wrong. But how to choose the right color? You may want the color ring to help you. We all know that if you choose two colors, for example, one is the color between blue and green, and the other you choose red. These two colors on the color ring, that will form an angle between them. The larger this angle is, the more easier for you to distinguish these two colors. So I think around 120 is good enough. But still, I think this one is also a distractive slide. Why? We'll look at the coloring. Green is here, red is there. Therefore, an angle of about 90 degrees. That's large enough, but it's still distracted. Why? Want to take a guess?
Yes.
Yes. Anna? Or Howard, you want to take a guess?
I think the contrast is too large. It's not comfortable for our eyes.
So I think the contrast is too large. But that's why we use coloring to choose the color, right? The contrast is large, right? But why is it still distractive? Let's look at this one. It's not clear enough. This one is black, and that one is blue. From here to there. Blue is a more bright and saturated color, in contrast of black. So at this one, those colors like black, like gray, or white, those colors are we call unsaturated color. And those colors like red, like green, blue, we are called it bright or saturated color. So my suggestion for you to pick up your color is to use those saturated colors to emphasize the point of the picture you want to talk about, and use others like white as background. For example, I think this slide is effective because all of you can see clearly these words. This one is still effective because white have a great contrast as other one, and this one are kind of dark. But this one is bright, so you can see clearly these words. And another one I suggest you to use your color is use your color to emphasize your point. Like I put red color in emphasize these words. So you can clearly see that this word is exactly different from others. But how to emphasize your point? By color. This is an example. What's the core value of an elementary school project? You won't see these words at the first sight. You must see that green little tree at your first sight on this screen. So, because all the others are use some kind of colors like black, like gray, or even white, so you won't see them at your first sight. But this one is a saturated color. It is green. So this one, to use colors to emphasize your point, you can effectively direct the audience eyes to that tree. And also, you can use color as some kind of hint. For example, I always use blue color to mention something related to affective slide. And I always use red to mention something that is distractive. Or also, green may refers to something good or safe, or red may refers to something important or even dangerous. That's the kind of thought. When we see these kind of colors, we will generate different thoughts. But red is dangerous. That's not always the case. For example, if you are a professional if your profession is about stock market, you'll know that red refers to good things, but everyone will look disappointed when they see all the screens are green. So that really depends on your situation. Then you should choose those colors that really fits your scenario. But there comes the question that how should we choose the color we want to use? But you can choose from the coloring, but there's so many colors on the coloring. How should you choose? And my suggestion will be you can observe those colors in your life. For example, Facebook, Bing, Line, Slideshare, Spotify, Apple, Evernote, KKBox, McDonald's, and also E-电视. These kind of icons, they have a very, I think it is a very classical combination of colors. Then you can take some advantage of them. For example, you want to make a slide that is talking about communication society. So I think Facebook, the combination of blue and white, is suitable for your slide design, like this one. So these kind of icons are all over the world, so you can make some observation to them. And I think it is a great help for you. Okay, about the color part, there's some key messages. So if you can't remember the previous part, remember this one. First is, I would suggest you to use coloring to choose the color. And then those bright colors like red, like green, to emphasize the point you want to talk about. And the last one, use colors as some kind of hint that can give your audience, make them understand your point better. Is that alright? Am I talking too fast?
Okay.
Okay, and that's all the point I want to talk about in the color part. Next one, I will talk about words. We won't use only colors, we must use some words in our slide. But there's still something we should take note about when we are using words. First is, what is the difference between these four kinds of fonts? Font means 字体.
Foot.
Font. F-O-N-T.
No, I mean the difference, the foot.
The foot. What did you mean? The foot?
Yes. I think the left one doesn't have a clear boundary, but the right one you can feel the clear boundary of the words.
Clear boundary of the words. You mean this
No.
one?
I mean you can.
What? Boundary. Still boundary there. What did you mean?
Well, I think this is just some intuition. The left one are more open. The right one is a little more closed.
This one is open and that one is closed. Kind of close to the answer. Okay, I think the why you close to the answer is you divided these fonts into two groups. That is what I want to talk about. This one is group 1 and this one is group 2. What is the difference between these two groups of fonts? Let's see. Take Richard as an example. What's different between these two Richard? You may notice that there are some kind of decorations here. And if you look closer, you may find that here, there. There's all these kind of decorations there. And we will call this kind of font as serif, that means 衬线字. This kind of decorations, we call it 衬线. And in contrast, the upper part, we are called it sans serif. That means there's no this kind of decoration on there. So back to these two groups. you will obviously notice that this one belongs to sans serif, and those words belongs to serif fonts. So next I will want to take the slides that in my C3 speech as an example. This slide I want to talk about the components of a microphone. But you may notice that these words, they are really cute. But in this case, I want to explain the function of microphone. For explanations, this kind of font type is kind of distractive, just like what you see. And I also use red I use red as a color hint to tell you that is distractive. So actually, the slide in my C3 speech is like this. I use Calibri to explain something. So I think, in my opinion, Calibri is a really effective font type if you are going to explain something. But that is not always the case. Look at this one. This is Calibri. Slide design, effective visualization. You can clearly see these words, but I think that is somehow kind of weird. Actually, in the first slide in this SGD is this one, slide design, effective visualization. I use this kind of font type because I want to create some kind of emotion and atmosphere. If you use this one, that is really cold. But this one, it is warm. And also, your decoration must be meaningful. If you use this one, 晋级的 SGD slide design, you are going too far. Because I think your decoration should be informative and effective. The case I use in slide design, that is, it creates a kind of form a warm atmosphere. But this one, I can't find the relationship between this animation with this SGD. So make sure that your decoration should be informative and also related to the topic you want to say. So back to these three principles, that's really important. It must be informative, eye-directive, and also eye-focusing. And now my question is, what's wrong with this slide? It's quite difficult for you to find out. What's wrong with this slide? This one. Someone has mentioned the keywords. Yes, the keyword is alignment. This slide, those three words, their first character do not align to each other. So I would like to put it like this. Why do I mention this is we are going to put some big words in the middle. The most kind of alignment we most commonly use is 置中对齐. But I would want to say is 置中对齐 may always be the best choice for you. So most of the time I would prefer still 置左对齐 because their first character are aligned to each other. So finally, about the word part, my key messages will be to use sans serif, 无衬线字 for explanation, and use serif to create some kind of special emotion for effective decoration. And the last part is, please concentrate only on your keywords. That means if you put too many words on the slide, that will be quite distractive because your audience don't know where they should look like at the first sight. So remember, your slide must be eye-focusing. If you put too many words, that won't be focusing anymore. Okay, let's come from practice one. Please open the package that I want you to download before this SGD and open the practice one. around practice 1, I think it will take you around 5 minutes. And 4 goals we want to achieve in this practice. It is to learn how to eliminate margin of your pictures and use proper color for those words, as well use the right kind of font for your explanation. And also, it is quite weird, but I will talk about it later, to use some kind of mask to decorate the words. So it is a practice for the things I told you all before. That is the scenario. These 2 pictures were taken in the campaign speeches of 2 former presidents, and those words are quoted from their script. So you have to help me with these slides. First is this one. This is Emma. He said in the beginning, I refused to be the president. And this one is Joey. He said, I've never thought that I will be on this stage one day, but these slides are not good enough. You have to fix them into a better kind of slides to use those tips I have told you before. Okay, and I'm going to give you 15 minutes to try these 2 ones. Okay, go.
是要把 Joy 的那个改掉吗？还是说用它的内容去？是用它内容去做一张投影片
Yes, you should remain all the information of these slides, but also change the, for example, change the size of the pictures, change the font type of the words to make this little, to fix this a little bit, to make this kind of slides more effective without eliminating the information you want to convey.
还要继续录吗？